comments on actionable items on the agenda. So if anyone would like to speak on any of the items before they come up on the agenda, please up here to the podium, fill out the public comment form and return it to the board table before that portion of our meeting, and we will be happy to call you up. With that, I'd like to call to order our Monday, September 12th, 2022 board discussion meeting. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission is to educate, empower, and inspire excellence. All board members were provided with background information to the various items on the agenda in preparation for tonight's meeting. Our meeting is being live streamed, and welcome anyone who would be viewing remotely, as well as welcome to everyone here. It's nice to see some people in the audience this evening. As a matter of disclaimer, this is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting school corporation business and is not considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated on the agenda. Any person willing to also address the board on any items, we do have that portion of the meeting at the end of the meeting. And again, fill out a form up here. Attorney Elwood has those forms. Return them to the board table, and again, we would be happy to allow you to speak to the board at the conclusion of tonight's meeting. We'll begin with our student and staff presentations, our energy savings presentation.
At this time, I would ask Mr. Mavrovich to come forward regarding this presentation.
Well, I'm here before you tonight to tell you about the great news, exciting news that we have done. There was a media release press from a NIPSCO Energy Efficiency Program that you guys were all provided by. So not going to go and read through it. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how we came about it and then what we have done to accomplish the check that we are receiving tonight from NIPSCO and then and everyone that was involved in it. Once we learned that once again NIPSCO was offering an energy efficiency program, we knew what we needed to do, and we took a full advantage of it. One of the first meetings that I had is in my office with our electrician, Chris Hall, which it's right there. Stand up, Chris. Chris was very instrumental in making this happen. I talked to him and I had a couple of questions, and he was very excited. And I asked him, Chris, can this be done, and can we do it in-house? And Chris said right away, yes, and yes, we can do it in-house. So after that, I went and spoke to the superintendent and our CFO and asked the CFO question that no CFO wants to hear is, we need money. Can I get some money? So we were okay. We received some money to purchase our light fixtures, and I'm specifically talking about the light fixtures in the field house that some of you had a chance to tour with me a couple of weeks ago. And then we replaced the light fixtures at Willow Creek Gymnasium, Fagley Gymnasium, and started replacing the light fixtures this year at this building. You can tell that we replaced the fixtures here in the boardroom. Over the course of last year and this year, we were able to secure the NIPSCO incentive check of an amount of $86,715. Again, this is only a 1/3 of the cost that actually cost us to purchase our light fixtures. So not only that we're recuperating the money that went in to buy the fixtures, we're actually making money getting a check of $86,000 and a change is only one time. However, it is projected to save us over $100,000 in utility bills year in and year out. So that's again something to be proud of. Superintendent and our team took full advantage of it, and we're not done yet. Over the summer, we're about to complete our LED lighting upgrade in 8 elementary schools. We're just about done with that, and estimated check for that, incentive check is $187,000 that we're getting back from NIPSCO for from switching from less efficient light fixtures to LED, more efficient light fixtures. Tonight in the audience, we have a member of our Gray Bar team, Christian Beeshall, and then we have a Kurt Canning. Mr. Kurt Canning is here with TRC companies. Both of them worked with us together to accomplish and secure the incentive check. Those NIPSCO applications are a little long and can be difficult to do at times. However, Christian worked with it, Mr. Kurt Canning worked with it, and then I have nothing but good things to say about the whole project and the experience with them, and we're looking forward to working and securing more incentive money back from NIPSCO. So at this time, I think TRC representative has a check for us, and it's a good publicity for a school. It's a great publicity for Gray Bar as a supplier, and then NIPSCO and then TRC. That we all worked collectively to secure the funding, and we're getting back to our funds, and we'll be using the money for something else. I now welcome any questions that our board members might have.
Are there any questions from the board? The only comment I'll make is, we had an opportunity, some of us, to tour some of the buildings last week, and the lighting is noticeably different. I mean, it's brighter. I mean, it just makes, I don't know, for me, it just made the atmosphere feel better, and then to be able to do that and get energy savings and rebates all at the same time, it's outstanding. So appreciate you looking into that and bringing that forward and doing that for the district.
I also, if I may, I pulled up an email that was sent to me by Miele July 25th, and it was specifically recognizing Chris Hall, our electrician, for his hard work. He's been with us in the district for a year, and not only his attitude, his knowledge, his hard work, his willingness to help others make him a good team player, but he has done these large projects throughout the district. The LED lighting upgrades in the transportation bus garage, high school field house, Willow Creek and Fagley gym lights, and the administration building as one single electrician amongst all of his other duties each day. And he does it smiling and laughing along the way, so it's great. It works out well for us, but he is a great addition to the team. And Chris, thank you, because these savings are definitely even more than they would have been had we had to hire this out.
Well, thank you for hiring me.
We're lucky to have you, it sounds like.
Yes.
So why don't we, Chris and Christian and Mr. Kenning, and why don't you guys, and Miele and Dr. Ellis, why don't you guys come up, and I see there's a check to be presented, and we'll get a photo op, and maybe us and the board will just kind of stay in the background out of the way. Take it into the bank.
Miele, nice
Taking a
try.
picture.
I was here to take a picture.
I think Matt's got his camera in his hand, but that was a good effort. Chris, you have to stand.
the middle. He's the main guy.
I'm getting lazy today.
Stop.
You gotta get a hold of it too.
Christian, you gotta get in.
Yeah.
Please make sure that Chris is seen.
He's trying to hide.
So, we get to keep a check, right? Can I get it?
He wants the one you can take to the bank.
You keep it for a while and maybe
Keep
I'll
it
get
for-
it back. It's not permanent, so you could write on it again, the next project. You
Yes.
can erase it and rewrite on it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you.
And if I may add, not only that Chris is a great guy, he makes a hell of a breakfast too.
Go ahead.
I'd also like to make a comment. As I was reviewing for today's meeting, I then clicked on the NIPSCO website and looked at ways that us as consumers could save energy and not only that, money. And so I looked at the different ways and different dryers and when we plan to purchase heating and cooling systems. So, you know, that's something too that we could talk to our students about, how, you know, in so many ways that we could save energy. And so I thank you again for that, and I thank you for your efforts making this happen.
Very good. Any other comments? Great, well, thank you. You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. We'll let you leave. You're welcome to if you'd like to.
I appreciate it. We'll move on.
Okay. Thank you very much. One more time, it's your.
You're good.
Okay, next item on our agenda is our ESSER planning update. Dr. Allen-Hess.
Yes. So, my team and I met, and as you know, that we had planned to give an update to the board several times throughout this process with these funds in order to be very transparent in the way that we are utilizing the dollars, budgeting the dollars, where we are with the spend down of dollars. And there is that portion on our website that each time we do one of these updates, that presentation then is compiled to share with the community as well. So as you know, ESSER 1 had to be spent by this fall in September, and we were ahead of the game on that. And it shows you the breakdown in the budget, what we spent on safe and secure learning, high achievement, technology. This was the only portion of the ESSER dollars that required the non-public school equitable service share, and that has been spent down. So ESSER 2, we are currently in the process of this spending. I will tell you again, it shows you that deadline. We are to get this spent down by September of '23. The expenses to date are a little over 4 million, and the total allocation was just right there around 5 million. To this point, we have approximately $922,000 remaining in that budget, and I'll tell you that those remaining dollars are going to be utilized for classroom technology to get those updates. We do have some outstanding HVAC claims to process, and then you'll see that high achievement budget as well as that tech budget there. And then ESSER 3, this is also in process. The deadline for this spend down is September of '24. At this current time frame, now that total allocation was a little over 11 million. We have 8 million at the bottom in yellow there, a little over 8 million still to spend. And I will tell you that this breakdown, what's remaining in that budget will be for technology, and also we're working on the HVAC air quality project in this budget. This is still that same research and resources that we've been utilizing to make sure that those 3 areas that we're targeting are our focus, and the allowable expenses, the research that's been compiled by the IDOE of what is a good opportunity to take advantage of. We recognize and appreciate the ability to have these dollars, but we also want to be mindful of what it is we need to prioritize. Like I said, the technology, the air quality, safe and secure, and then really to that achievement, as we know the compounded learning loss that has happened with our students.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Allen as it relates to the ESSER funding?
So I noticed that the non-public schools received a portion.
Yes.
Now, do they have to report back to, who do they report back to in terms of what kind of funding or monies that they?
So with that share amount, like I said, was around 20,000. They're given more or less the same type of guidelines that we are. They then give us what those, what their expenditures are, and we pay those, but we don't have oversight really over their portion. It's what we're obligated to provide them, and then we document what those things were, but, you know, let's say that it's not something that we felt, and I'm not saying this has occurred, but if there's something that we didn't feel met the guidelines, there's really nothing that we can do within that share. We're required to give it, and if having to answer for it, then we will share the documentation that this is what they used.
So they're actually spending the money or committing it, and then we're actually paying them for it on that way, or is it we just giving them their lump sum? Oh, okay, all right, I didn't know that, that's good, okay.
Yeah.
Good question.
So,
Thank you.
but you know, what, let's say that it was, if the dollars weren't something we necessarily felt were outlined and something that's not our, we don't have the authority to tell them.
You don't get to say yes or no when they
Right.
submit it.
And again, I'm not saying we've had any concerns with that, but that's one of the, that's one of the areas where it's really important to make sure we document why we've done what we've done with that portion.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, just one. Just for clarification, really for the audience and for those viewing. ESSER 1 is now complete. ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 are already allocated to specific categories. There are no amendments that we can make on those budgets and those allocations to support anything other than the safe and secure learning environment, technology, and our high achievement.
That's what we've identified as our areas. Now, we can amend the budget and adjust where those allocated dollars are. As a matter of fact, we just did a recent one. Now, our hope is that we won't need to go back and do another, another amendment. But that's why it's real important as we're going through these to be planning well in advance so that if we do need to submit another amendment, because, for instance, the classroom technology one, we can do that. So, but we are staying within those three categories.
Okay, that's what I wanted to.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Next, we'll move on to adjustments to the agenda from the board. Does anyone have any adjustments they need to make to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to our board development and board reports.
I just have one thing to share. The most recent RDC meeting was August the 25th, and just a couple of things so that we're aware of it as well as a community and as education community. They're going to start construction on Central Avenue this fall, and Airport Road is going to start up with construction again in mid-September. So that's just something for us to be aware of as parents with the school bus drivers and all the other things happening. And starting tomorrow, the Regional Development Commission will start their focus group meetings, and they'll end those on September the 15th. This is to do some of the planning and development that they're planning on for the downtown area and other things that are happening throughout the city. So if you've been invited to participate in those focus group meetings, they'll start tomorrow and then on the 15th. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of reports. The Portage Township Education Foundation meeting will be held tomorrow, and they will continue to plan different ways in which to assist our schools in our district. The Food Pantry Tag Day was held this past Saturday. I was able to participate along with some dedicated volunteers. We thank the volunteers and the generous and kind individuals who donated food items from Walmart and Strax, as well as those on different sites on Central Avenue. We also thank those who made monetary donations. This is another example of how our community works together to support our families and our individuals that are in need. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other board reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to our superintendent's consent agenda, which the items are the approval of the personnel report and the approval of our donations. Do you have a motion to approve the superintendent's consent agenda?
Motion to approve? Second.
You have a motion, a second, any discussion?
I have a question. I noticed that on the personnel report, there were about 17 individuals that resigned and they were instructional assistants. Do we include an exit interview for those individuals? So my question is, why so many are resigning at this
I would have
time?
to look into that. We normally, we do coordinate with the principals to see why it is that individuals are resigning, no matter their classification, so I can check further into that.
Okay, thank you. Also, this personnel report included summer school. So I'd like to thank those individuals for working with our students during this time, because of the fact that, they had to take time away from their vacation, being with their families, and spending time in the classrooms. So I just wanted to extend a thank you to those individuals for doing that and collaborating during the summer, and working with our students during the summer. I'm sure band and the marching band and other athletics, all those were going on at the same time. So I appreciate all that extra effort that our staff exhibited during these summer months.
Thank you. Another item of note was the curricular work. There was almost $500,000 paid out in stipends for the curricular work,
That's
which was excellent.
And then I just have one question, and it's just, I guess it's a thing that until we figure all of this out as a country, how are we looking with staffing throughout the entire district?
We are in a really good place. I was just sharing with Sean and Benny with PAT that we're in a great spot as far as being staffed. Others are not in that much of a fortunate situation. So it is something that we're grateful for, and we had a lot of good opportunities to retain a lot of good people. And then, of course, also for those who left for various reasons, some, as you know, across the nation are leaving to other professions. And we were able to, although sad to see them leave, replace those individuals with quality people and educators. So we are staffed. Same thing with our instructional assistants. We are staffed. So we're just plugging along.
Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Yes. Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes?
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Next, we'll move on to our board's consent agenda, which has the meeting minutes from our August 22nd meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes?
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll move on to our old business, and our first item on the agenda is our second reading and approval of the Neola policies, and I do believe we have someone, public comment?
form, Natalie Franks, 2725 Monier Street. Would like to comment on policy 5511 and policy 5517.
Welcome, Mrs. Franks.
Hello. Good evening, President Maleta and Board and Superintendent Ellis and yourself. I am the mother of a fourth grader at Aylesworth Elementary School and the choral director at Willow Creek Middle School. And I'm here to speak to two biases that I perceive in the newly approved dress code from both the elementary and the middle school parent-student handbooks, which affects my daughter, her peers, and my current and future students. Our district's vision states we embrace a culture that recognizes and celebrates diversity and creativity. Our goals state we will create a culture of collaboration and acceptance in a safe and secure learning environment, and we value a positive culture reflecting a physically and emotionally safe and productive working and learning environment. In that spirit, I bring these items to you for your consideration. The third paragraph of the summary of dress and grooming, it is stated, students who are representing any of our schools at an official function or public event may be required to follow specific dress code requirements in alignment with that function and responsibility. Usually this applies to athletic teams, cheerleaders, bands, student government, and other such groups. Having been part of the music staff at both the elementary and secondary level here in Portage for over 20 years, and having a child who's just recently joined her elementary choir, I think it's inadequate to list only the bands in this section of the policy. While I don't intend to speak for my music colleagues, I know that we have presented a unified music department for many years, working hard to build all music students to be amazing musicians and upstanding young people. In that spirit of diversity, acceptance of students choosing choir or orchestra, respectively, I would like to see this a policy amended in the future years to include choir and orchestra, or to simply state music performance ensembles. I think it rather remiss that choir and orchestra would fall into the other such groups category. Secondly, the fourth paragraph considers specific guidelines for acceptable apparel. The second bullet point in the list suggests apparel or items which allude to drugs, alcohol, sex, the occult, gangs, weapons, or which are offensive to only ethnic or racial groups are prohibited. I strongly urge you to add additional language to this suggestion point to include additional bullying and bias-based language as listed elsewhere in the handbook as part of the Addressing Bullying and Bias-Based Behavior Policy 5517. And I quote, "Bullying and harassment can take many forms and includes behavior that targets students because of their actual or perceived race, color, national origin, ethnicity, citizenship, and so on and so forth." And the fact that we've only outlined ethnic and racial groups, I find as a discrepancy. So I encourage you to consider addressing these discrepancies so that all of our students hear and read corporation language that includes them academically and know that they do not have to worry about going to school in an environment that holds a bias for or against any particular group of students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What specifically were those policies?
5511 and 5517. So 5517, I don't see any.
I don't see that either, that's why I asked.
Is it on tonight?
5511 was, but I had originally intended to address this at the end, but I just included it in my
That's fine.
Okay.
I was just looking for it, that's
Yep,
fine.
so 5511
We
was
could
on.
approve this minus that policy and give the policy committee a chance to look at that?
Yeah.
I think that would be fair, right?
So, yeah, you just make a motion and second and vote to remove 5511 back to the policy committee, and then approve the rest of them if you so choose.
Perfect.
All right, so that'll be mine. I vote to approve all of the policies with the exception of 5511 to go back to the policy committee for further review.
A second.
We have the motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? I'd also ask that the policy committee look at 5517 as well at that same time. So Dr. Alanes and I think Trustee Wilkie and Trustee Vasquez are on that
Yes.
committee. If you can schedule yourself a meeting and review those policy. And thank you, Mrs. Franks, for bringing that to our attention.
If you would like my notes, I'm happy to provide them.
Okay, yeah, we'll take those for sure.
Absolutely.
So we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll move on to new business. Our consideration to approve resolution R09-2022 anti-vaping resolution.
Can I make a suggestion, please?
Yes.
Can we have Trustee Williams read that?
That would
Because
be
he was
great.
very instrumental in getting that together, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
That's a great idea, because it's really long.
Thank you. Resolution of the School Board of Trustees of the Portage Township Schools Corporation emphasizing the harmful effects of vaping and marketing techniques that target our youth. Whereas vaping among our youth both locally and nationwide is increasing at an alarming rate. Whereas the Portage Township School Board of Trustees, the Portage Township School Superintendent, Portage Township School staff, Portage students, and parents have a vested interest in the relocation of this business due to its distance violation of Indiana staff and the effect it will have on our students should it be allowed to remain. Whereas it is widely known, young people who persistently abuse substances often experience an array of problems, including academic difficulties, health-related problems, including mental health, poor peer relations, and involvement with the juvenile justice system. Additionally, there are consequences for family members, the community, and the entire society. They list a website. Whereas the results of the Indiana Youth Survey, which gathers data on alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use, shows concerning trends in the use of e-cigarettes in our Portage youth. Whereas the CDC reports that vaping, high concentrations of nicotine and THC is leading to debilitating and potentially deadly psychological and physiological side effects. And whereas the risks of substance use amongst teens can do the following: affect the growth and development of teens, especially brain development, occur more frequently with other risky behaviors such as unprotected sex and dangerous driving, and contribute to the development of adult health problems such as heart disease, high blood pressure, and sleep disorders. Lastly, the earlier teens start using substances, the greater their chances of continuing to use substances and developing substance abuse problems later in life. Again, lists a website. Whereas Portage Township Schools has entered into a class action lawsuit against the manufacturers of Juul to bring an end to their harmful marketing and advertising practices that entice our youth into using their products at an increasingly younger ages. Whereas Portage Township Schools makes many efforts to educate and empower our students to make good choices involving teen drug use and abuse. Whereas Portage Township Schools makes many efforts to educate and empower our students to make good choices involving teen drug use and abuse. Portage Township participates in the following drug and tobacco education and prevention programs: Portage Prevention Partnership Coalition, Porter County Voice Campaign, Porter County Tobacco Education and Prevention Coalition, and Life Skills. This is long.
You wrote it.
Yeah, I didn't realize this page. Life Skills program for middle school students and Mind Up curriculum for every elementary schools, as well as conducting its own training and education such as dangers of vaping. Whereas the city of Portage has authorized the business known by its Indiana business license as Tobacco Kings 2 Incorporated to open at 2563 Willow Creek Road, directly across from Willow Creek Middle School, located at 5962 Central Avenue. Whereas this business is in clear violation of Indiana Code 35-46-1-11.2, operating within 1,000 feet of a school, Willow Creek Middle School. This distance is to be determined by measuring the nearest point of the premises occupied by the tobacco business and the nearest point of the building used by the school for instructional purposes. Whereas the business is offering for sale tobacco, vapes, THC gummies, hundreds of various decorative drug-related glass smoking pipes and bongs, and gas mask style bongs, all within view from outside the business. Whereas the Portage Township Schools Board of Trustees respectfully asks Portage City elected officials, State of Indiana elected officials, and those from the Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission to act immediately to enforce the state law and have this business move to a legal location. Portage Township Schools have begun their 2022-23 school year, and our impressionable youth have to pass by this business and its gratuitous advertisement every school day, visible before, during, and after school. Youth substance is a national crisis, and we need your assistance at the local level. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Portage Township School Board of Trustees condemns the manufacturers and retailers of vaping products for their purposeful and targeted marketing tactics. The board is calling upon our Indiana lawmakers to set appropriate boundaries for e-cigarette and related product sales, to include advertising targeted at our youth and storefronts visible from our school doors, in order to support our efforts in addressing teen vaping. Now for there be resolved that the School Board of Trustees hereby adopts above.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve resolution R09-2022?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Upon approval, will we be sending this to the various agencies, the city, the agencies listed here?
Yes.
Mr. President, I would like to report that I did get a call from the city attorney, Dan Whitten, last week. He said that he was aware of the issue, was not aware of the resolution, did not advise him of same, but he just called me to give me an update as the attorney for the school district on what they're doing. They did in fact approve this, and they are looking into it. Apparently there are some crazy exceptions to the statute such that initially it said if you had a business, similar business in Indiana, you're grandfathered in. Then it said if you had a similar business anywhere in the country. And so they've also called excise, so I mean, this will obviously help boost them, but they are on it already.
And one of the things I would hope to encourage the city council to do is adopt their own ordinance with some restrictions and guidelines for that type of business.
Yep, and they can do that.
Which I believe they can, which would, in the future, help solve some of these and bring it to their attention before they get approved. So maybe the next conversation with Mr. Whitten, that we could suggest that.
May I add something?
Yes.
And just for the public's information, so when it first opened, I think President Milletta and I saw, fairly quickly when it first opened, so we reached out to excise officers that we knew and familiar with, and I've spoken with one of them, and I know they've been out and measured, and the business is in violation, and they have issued a citation. I believe there's a hearing scheduled at some point. I don't have that date. I don't know if it's open to the public, but I know the, ball is in motion, so I just wanted to let the community know that.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that, also I spoke to the ATC, which is the Alcohol Tobacco Commission in Indianapolis, and they said that exactly that there will be a hearing. They did warn this could take several months to resolve. It's not, it won't be easy.
It's also, those are public hearings, and
Oh, there.
it's important to represent it.
Yeah, so we need to,
Yeah, if we
Let's see if we
can
can find
find
out
that
when that
date,
is.
or I would attend myself.
I would too. Very good. We have the motion and a second. Any other discussion? And call roll, please.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Milletta.
Yes. Next, we have our consideration and approval of the PTS Teacher Evaluation Rubric. Dr. Alanis.
Yes, Dr. Stevens worked with the team to develop the new rubric. I want to personally thank Dr. Stevens, also Mr. Hufford. We also have Benny Vassallo, who's Vice President in the audience, who also worked with Dessa Kelly, who's also Vice President, correct? And Dr. Stevens and the PAT executive team have been in a lot of collaboration throughout the spring and the summer months to make certain that this was a tool that we felt was mutually beneficial and would give us opportunities to give feedback to our teachers and then feel like they have a form that represents what we're asking them to do in the classroom. So this was a huge undertaking. I want to thank you guys and, of course, Dr. Stevens for working on this as well.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the PTS Teacher Evaluation Rubric?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
A motion, a second. Any discussion?
I do have a question. In reading about the evaluation, it said that if a teacher is ineffective and there's going to be a conference, it says that they would be meeting with an individual. Would that be, it said the superintendent or designee, would that be the building administrator? Would that be with Dr. Stevens?
It would be with the building administrator first, and along with any representation from the association, if that's something that they desire to have there. Dr. Stevens and I typically, we stay out of those situations unless it then rises to the next level of attention. There have been situations in the past where we've worked alongside PAT to resolve a situation. So we're not involved in that first stage of those situations. But one thing we have done, I feel like a good job of doing is sharing that information when a teacher makes the association aware that they might be trending in a direction that was of concern. And then Dr. Stevens requires the principals to report to him if a teacher is trending towards needing improvement or not effective, and we make certain that they're assigned a mentor and on a plan to ensure that we're working alongside them for improvement, not just waiting for them to fail. That's not the intent of the process.
So as a person who did evaluate teachers, you're right, the purpose is not to knock them down or make them feel worse than they already do. It's to help support them, whether they get the support from another colleague or an administrator or someone from central administration. But it also gives the evaluator a lot of benefits because as an evaluator, you're in the classrooms. And so you have an opportunity to see all this learning that is going on. And not only that, students really enjoy seeing their administrator in the classrooms. It also gives the evaluator an opportunity to share all the good things that are going on. And so when you meet with other teachers, you also are able to share different techniques, different strategies that, the teachers are doing. So it's not just about criticizing or
No.
pointing out the negative things that are going on. It's also to embrace and celebrate
Yep.
all the good teaching that's going on.
It is exciting too, because that's one thing that we really look forward to in the new tool. Dr. Stevens has, for the last several years, wanted to find those areas of celebration within a building throughout the district, when we're focusing on things to enhance instructional practices, obviously, so that learning outcomes increase, because that's all of our goals. This will allow us to really hone in on those practices that we are saying, wow, across the board, we're seeing this, and this is a really good thing, and here's the outcome of it. So it will help us to be able to celebrate a lot of those opportunities as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stevens, member of the PAT, for collaborating on this, and I agree, the goal is to help people succeed.
Yes.
And I think from reading the document myself, I feel that it lends toward that, so I
Yes.
think that's a good thing.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes.
Next, we have our approval of the overnight field trip to Oak Lawn, Illinois by the Portage High School varsity volleyball team on September 16th and 17th. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Next, we have our consideration to approve the fall play.
Yeah, so this year, they would like to have the fall play be the Alibi, and this is 8 playwrights finding comedy and crime, 10-minute plays wrapped into a classic whodunit. So there's a lot of opportunity, as you saw in the attachments, for both the script and the proposal, as well as just how many students are truly involved, all the way from the students who are doing the lighting to anything backstage, the students in the pit, and those that are on the actual stage throughout the whole program. So it's kind of a great comedy, as I looked over it and reviewed it, and I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, up to 15 to 85 students to participate, which is great.
Yes.
Very good. Do we have a motion to approve the fall play, the Alibis?
Make a motion to approve the play.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Next, we have our consideration to approve the contracts for the Securely for the IT.
So Securely, we just put this out again in our newsletter. We do that each year. And as a parent of 2 students in the district, on Sunday evenings, I receive the report for my 2 girls of what they've done on their school-issued device throughout the week, what they've looked up, what educational websites they've been on, how long they've been on those, to include Schoology in that. It's a great way to be able to see what your students are doing on that iPad, and it's a good connection for us with the parents. It also alerts you if there was something your child tried to look up that the device didn't allow them to look up, and of course, we would notify you if it was really significant prior to you receiving that report. But it's a great checks and balance with our kids. So Securely is that management system. It is a 1-year contract of $30,615, and it runs October 1st through September 30th of next year. The other program within this item 9.06 is Naviance. We did get away from Naviance a few years ago, and this is the college career and life planning platform. We are required to utilize something. We were using the, I cannot at the moment think of the name of it, but the free version through the state. That has since not been updated, and we want to make sure that we're in compliance, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it's beneficial for our students. So it's extensive career interest inventories that the counselors use to help guide and focus course offerings for students individually. It also contains a 4-year plan that can be adjusted each year and uploaded into the scheduler to streamline the scheduling process and make it more efficient. And our students are tracked beyond high school through the National Clearinghouse in accordance with Naviance, and that is a requirement as well. And we are hoping to have Naviance and Power School be able to speak to each other. I believe now they've since purchased Naviance. I could be inaccurate in that. I'll get back to you on that for certain. But I do know that they're better communicating than times past. So it's valuable for our students, our staff, and our parents. The 1-year cost for this contract is $32,854.20, and it would run September 15th of this year through September 14th of '23.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the contract for Securely for the IT department?
Motion to approve?
Second.
With a motion second, any discussion? Can you call roll, please?
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Next, we have our consideration and approval to purchase benchmark preschool materials.
I'm really excited to share this with you. Our kindergarten teacher, our pre-K teachers, who are housed at Jones, as you know, they had the opportunity to look at the benchmark materials through an initiative at the self-school with the other preschool teachers that are not necessarily housed in Portage. Our teachers in Portage really felt that aligning benchmark preschool program to the district's benchmark program would be beneficial for our students. So due to that, they, after reviewing the materials, would like to proceed and get the preschool materials. This is also really helpful as we look at some of our early learners that might already be in kindergarten. There's a little bit of an opportunity there to share in some of those resources. But overall, it will be a great opportunity to make sure that our pre-K students have that platform entering kindergarten with that same set of content. I do want to tell you that we were first looking at this for a 3-year subscription. I believe when Mr. Gran shared with me that it, for the 6-year, it was $30,000 more. We went ahead and went with it. Now, I'll tell you, in the 3 years, our other benchmark materials will be up for reconsideration, and the teachers may decide to go with something different. We just don't know. But for that amount, we felt like it would be worthwhile to go ahead and continue it because of the price difference. And we may very well say preschool might want to stay on that. We don't know.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the benchmark preschool materials?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Get a motion, a second, any discussion?
So when I read the email, not the email, the information about this, it says that they would like to order 3 sets. And did you say that was, what was the cost? Because there was no cost included in this information.
I can get you the cost. I don't have it right on hand.
I mean, I really like the fact that it's going to align with
Yes.
with our other students in K through 5. However, it just didn't have a cost.
And I can bring, if you would like, I can bring this back for the
Yeah, why don't
September
we do that so that
26th
we
meeting
set the
so that you
price?
guys have that information available to you. And then I'll at least, then we can do that. But the 3 sets is because there's 3 pre-K teachers at Jones, but I will get you the price. My apologies for that.
Well, I would hate to hold up the ordering of it as well. So,
Well, if you guys want to move forward and then I can publicly share the price at the next meeting, is that
That'd be fine.
something that
That's fine.
would be appropriate?
That'd be
Okay.
fine.
appreciate that. I don't want to hold up any ordering
Thank you.
for our little people.
Any other discussion? Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes. Next, we have our acceptance of the high ability grant funds.
you'll find the attached memo from Mrs. Williams regarding the $53,478 for our high ability program grant that has been awarded. It was written to support the implementation of assessments needed to identify our high ability students, as well as support the professional development and curricular planning needs for the program.
Thank you. Do you have a motion to approve the high ability grant funds?
Motion to approve?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Thank you, Mrs. Williams. As always, you always come and bring us money. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes.
And finally, we have our acceptance of the secure safety and security grant funds.
So, as you know, the Indiana Department of Homeland Security does allow for schools to apply for the Secured School Safety Grant. For 2023, we have been approved in the amount of $100,000. This grant is written to support the salary and benefit expenses of 2 of our full-time resource officers of our 5, which helps PTS maintain a safe and secure learning environment. I do want to mention that this grant requires a cash match of $100,000 to be paid for by the district. And if you recall last meeting, as I shared that I'm on that school safety coalition in the state with some superintendents, that is one of the areas that we were looking at trying to see if legislators would be willing to address that match is difficult, especially in some of those smaller rural schools. So just advocating for safety and security across the state for different districts that maybe don't have the opportunity to capitalize on these dollars because they can't match it. But we're fortunate and we do.
Very good. Do you have a motion to approve the secure safety and security grant funds?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion second. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll move on to our superintendent reports. Dr. Alanis.
If you've not noticed yet, we are on starting the exterior envelope of Portage High School with the facelift that will be happening with the paint, but more importantly, the structural repairs will be underway. They are kind of putting a larger cast around all of those structural support beams on the exterior, and so you'll see that the one area that it's a darker gray, that is the gray that it will be, and you'll see where that kind of is bulked out there on the west side of the east building. The lighter gray that you see going up right now everywhere else, although it's still a darker gray, that is the waterproof coat prior to them getting started with adding those panels. So it's gonna be great. There is, in those recessed areas, will be a little lighter gray. The molding around the top that will be repainted, and all of the steel in various places throughout the building, or metal on top of the building, they have started to repaint those and they look great. So I did go up on the roof on Wednesday of last week and really checked to make sure that I was completely comfortable with the colors, and they look great. The learning lab, so Dr. Stevens has been working really closely with Dessa Kelly, who is the learning lab instructor there and instructional coach for our elementaries in the area of launch for Project Lead the Way. She has been really creative in spaces to find for students as they're coming at the elementary level to have the various lessons that they're involved in after they complete modules back at the school. But today we are officially open in that learning lab. And our first set of students that will be visiting will be this Wednesday, specifically to learn in there. So I'll make sure to share pictures with you, and hopefully we can get some video to add to our website.
When will we be having the dedication of that?
That will be October 25th.
Thank you.
That has been confirmed. I also want to mention that we are continuing in collaboration with our teachers and our principals and other administrators on high reliability schools, professional development. On the e-learning day, we just had another presenter from Marzano, and our high reliability schools surveys have started to go out for level 2, which is that common instruction in classrooms, and again, in very much alignment with our new teacher evaluation document, so that the support we're able to provide, the professional development we're able to provide is all linked. So we're really excited for that. I also would like to mention that we are working on getting some hours for the field house use for the community. We are getting some finishing touches in the new entrance of the relocated office at the high school, and we're going to be opening some morning hours, and we're at least going to get started with trying to get one evening. We're trying to work around all the schedules of various teams that might be using that so that we can have some consistent hours for the community to know. And then we will be revisiting those hours each semester, so then that way we can give an update, and if we can prioritize opening even more hours, then we will. But I figured we'd at least start with something that we can make sure we can manage and everyone has the appropriate coverage that they need. Also, State of the Schools, as you know, is this Thursday, September 15th. And I wanted to share with you that we will have a recording of that we will put a link to in the upcoming newsletter, and also add it to our website so that others can view it if they so desire to. This was about thanking the team for the eval.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Please.
I just want to add that Melissa Devers-Lowy was a big help in formatting it as well.
Okay.
But I can't thank the AG representative enough. Great process.
Yeah. What I wanted to share with you in the update from the week of September 5th, I shared the meeting schedule, and we will start our rotation visiting some schools for this year. So our first one will be that October 25th date that's going to be moving to the new learning lab for our meeting. So we will have that open house for the community, and then also have our meeting there. So those dates are listed in this last update that came out, and I'll make sure when I put them on your chart to highlight those. And then, of course, as you know, Cindy does a nice job of putting at the bottom of each meeting where meetings are and dates and all of that. We had an SRO collaboration meeting today, and Sheriff Reynolds and Chief Candiano were also there. It was just opportunities to kind of talk about the start of the year, some things we have going on, reviewing some procedures and protocols, talking about training that we want to have accomplished for our employees, partnering with community. Also our partnership committee that is involving the city, the township, and the school district, and working through some of that mental health first aid training with Porter Stark. So many of them have already received that on the law enforcement side. But we're looking at expansion of opportunities for our employees and community. The playground installation at South Haven is underway. That is another meeting that will travel so that we can kind of talk through the dedication of that to our students. And also, Melissa had a great idea of having kind of like, whether it be hot dogs and chips out there, and really trying to teach the students about the purpose behind such an inclusive playground. So it will be a great opportunity, and again, that will be in your update. We had our first employee forum over our culture, climate and culture results from our Marzano survey for level 1. We did have representatives from various departments last Wednesday. It was the first of many different times we plan to just have feedback from our employees. The next one will be more specific to our teachers, as it's more about that curriculum and achievement, getting their feedback about how things are going in the classroom, implementation of curriculum, our new focus with the HRS level 2. This week, I'm glad that we actually have our first parent and guardian forum. So that will be, again, also about safe and collaborative schools, as we know that in this day and age, families have every reason to just want to know some answers to those basic safety and security questions. So we'll be meeting with them on that. Okay, so I have the totals because Dr. Stevens was able to get that for us. So for benchmark, 6 years, it was even less than I thought, was 13,500 total. And
For
the
6 years.
Yes, and the 3-year was 12,600. I thought it was 30,000 difference, but no. So we're a little under $1,000 difference to go with the 6-year. So $13,500 total thank you, for that adoption.
Great, thank you.
It'll be money well spent.
Oh, very,
Yeah,
very much so.
definitely.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens, for finding that out for us.
Great, thank you. Do we have any items that are not on the agenda the board would like to bring up?
Do.
Yeah, I have a couple. I'll let
Sure, go ahead.
You go first.
You go first. I went first this time. This is what we do.
Last Thursday, trustees Miletta and Wilkie and myself, we were able to tour 3 of the buildings, Ellsworth, Willow Creek, and Central. And I just want to say thank you to their principals, Principal Taylor, Solar, and Stewart, for the warm reception that we received, along with their staff that was there. We were able to see the upgrades of the projects and the condition of the buildings. I mean, they were just really great. You could tell that their custodians and their principals and the staff really take a lot of pride in their buildings. Doesn't matter the age of the building, they really do take a lot of pride. I was able to see some friends that I hadn't seen, and I noticed that our superintendent also was able to, all of us had people that we were able to say hello to. But it was really, the upgrades in the libraries, the media centers were not all ready. You know, they were work in progress, but I really feel confident that those are going to be very special, and it's going to be very informative. Those experiences that they're going to have is just invaluable. So thank you to them and their custodians and Mr. Mavrovich.
Yep.
I always have a hard time. Mr. Gran was there. And thank you for your time. It took about 2.5 hours, I believe, to tour those buildings. I only have one request. Next time, if we could have lunch, because I was really hungry.
She was chirping at me the whole time. Why aren't we having lunch after this?
And then I have, on a serious note, I was wondering, with the business that's open across the street from our middle school, if some or all of us, are we allowed to, or maybe we could consider going to the city council meeting in October and either reading our resolution that we just passed or making some comments. So not only is the council then and the mayor aware of our concerns, but also the residents of this community. So that's something to consider.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
can do that.
You're next.
Messing with Attorney Over here.
Oh, no.
Following in line with Trustee Vasquez just shared is about our school leaders, and I want to say thank you to the Association for School Principals, Region 1 leaders, our Ellsworth principal, Mrs. Taylor, who is the co-president of that group, Mrs. Caballero, who is the secretary for the group. They asked me to come speak to school leaders about self-care, and I just wanted to personally say thank you to them because Mrs. Smollett was there, Mrs. Stewart was there, and what was beautiful about this, they were giving support to their fellow co-workers, and it was great to see them as leaders in that space supporting other school administrators throughout the region. I mean, there were regional leaders from all over Northwest Indiana, and they were the center of attention, so to speak, and make sure that, you know, we had an agenda and everything kind of flowed. So I want to say thank you to those wonderful leaders of our district. September 15th is coming up, and that's this week, and putting my old school principal's hat on, it's the first day of National Hispanic Heritage Month. And during this month, we pay tribute to generations of Hispanic Americans who have positively enriched our nation and our society. So I wanted to say that. And then yesterday is what was September the 11th, but you know, sometimes you have to just be reminded that over 21 years ago, 246 people went to sleep in preparation for their morning flights. 2,606 people went to sleep in preparation for the work in the morning. 343 firefighters went to sleep in preparation for their morning shifts. 60 police officers went to sleep in preparation for their morning patrol. 8 paramedics went to sleep in preparation for the morning shift, and none of them saw past 10 a.m. on September the 11th of 2001. In one single moment, life may never be the same. And as you live and enjoy the breaths you take today and tonight before you go to sleep in preparation for your life tomorrow, please kiss the ones you love, snuggle a little tighter, and never take 1 second of your life for granted. And that's an author as unknown. It's definitely not my words. So, but I wanted to definitely acknowledge September the 11th because that changed us forever.
Thank you for that. And I'd like to just reiterate, and again, thank Mile there, our maintenance and custodial staff. We saw those buildings. They just shined, man. And I tell you, and we've done that before where we went into the buildings for various things. And, you know, we look at those buildings and they're as old as they are, and you would expect, you would see that aging. And then Willow Creek, you see some aging.
Yes.
But they're immaculately clean. They're well taken care of. So congratulations, Mile and your staff, for the. Just thank you. It's
Yes,
fantastic.
thank you, Mr.
Great
Miller.
job. You can tell there's a lot of pride in those buildings. And you see the pride too from the staff that's working, from the teachers that we saw that day, the administrators that we saw, the head custodian. There's just a lot of pride in their building and what they do. And that was really kind of neat to see. And I want lunch too.
And
You're
I
gonna
was
have to
able,
give me a whole day to tour them.
and so, ladies from the food service were also there, and I was able
yeah.
to say hello to some friends.
Yeah.
And my favorite part was seeing the little children.
Yeah.
Seeing the children there, as they were having early dismissal that day, but they were there and they were energetic and friendly, and so that was really a special treat for
Yeah.
me.
That was our first change in how we're doing procedures for e-learning, so it went rather smooth, and I appreciate that our teachers felt like at the elementary level, bringing them in for a half day would be more beneficial.
Great, thank you. Any other items not on the agenda? Public comment, did we receive any public comment
Did
from
not.
us? We did not. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here.